and welcome back to Crowley House Flower Farm. Today we're going to be talking all about growing the magical sweet pea. So sweet peas are one of those flowers that in the garden can be a challenge for some people to grow. And then other folks are like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I thought I would delve into growing beautiful sweet peas because we do a lot of that here on the farm. And sweet peas are the very first crop. If you were to ever follow me from the beginning, it was the very first crop that I grew. And it was one that did in the fall fail, which I didn't understand sweet peas at all. I just threw them in the ground. There was like a 6-foot row, and it was just one of those things that I had no idea what I was doing. I've always looked at farming or growing or gardening or anything like that is my classroom. And this is how I've learned over I think it's been 15 years now that I've been doing this. And so we've kind of gotten a really good grip on growing sweet peas. That being said, over the years, you can be the best grower there is and have a complete fail. That has happened to so many growers that I've known that have been doing it way longer than me. So if you do fail, it's not the end of the world. You just pick yourself back up and you do it again next year and you will have eventual success. Anyways, I'm gonna take you through some of the points. We did get some sweet peas in the other day and I wanted to run through some of them that we're growing here on the farm and then some that have come in as well. Okay, so we are gonna head on out to the greenhouse because it's warmer, although it is kind of warm today here at the farm, a little drizzly, rainy, but I'm gonna tuck myself into the greenhouse and go ahead and run through those seeds with you and then show you kind of what we've done as far as planting and all the things. It's just gonna give you a deep dive into growing beautiful sweet peas. So you can see behind me, we have some sweet peas that we planted back in fall. These have the cattle panel trellising. They are trellised a little over 6 feet. And the sweet peas will top these in the greenhouse. When you're growing in an indoor environment, you will find that growing sweet peas are a lot different than growing out in your garden. One of the reasons is because this is a controlled environment. We have heat, we have shelter, we do have fans oscillating around, so we do get some wind. We open up the doors. It's just kind of like I can control this environment. Where if you're growing outside, you can't. February is the time that we plant for outdoor sowing, and we plant them under shelter to get them going. Some people will plant them directly, and you can do that. I find that I get the sweet peas to be much more vigorous and beautiful if I can start them indoors this time of year. Now, the sweet peas that you've seen on this trellis here have been started back at the end of September, 1st of October. We got them started in just little cell packs. We ended up growing them and then pinching them out, planting them out, and we've kind of nurtured them along. A lot of times when you're growing inside, they won't really do anything. They just kind of stay stagnant. But as soon as the sun starts to come back and the days start to get longer and warmer, all of a sudden you'll see them just kind of shoot up. As you can see here, they've just started growing, and it literally is February 17th. Beautiful. They are looking really good. I will tell you how to plant so that you get beautiful starts like this here later on in the video, but I wanted to just run through kind of our fertilizing technique that we do now. So one time a week we use a fish emulsion and we mix it up in a bucket. You can kind of see the bucket way down there, and we put a couple capfuls in. We fill that bucket up with water and then we drench these. So we kind of it's a weak fertilizer, but we just kind of go along the top and we just kind of run the water along it. We do that every single week, and right now it's Keith's job. So normally I do it, but I've been out sick, and so Keith has been doing it for me, which is really nice because it is kind of, when you're not feeling good, things, get heavier than they normally are, and you just kind of get out of breath because my lungs were kind of weird and, all those things. So, but that's what makes that spur on. There is a lot of care to growing sweet peas, at least for us here in the greenhouse, because they are so vigorous. So we use like a baling twine to twine up every single Monday And sometimes when they're going real gangbusters, we will have to do a second twining, or at least a section of it. So sometimes you'll find that one type of sweet pea will grow better than another. So, okay, let's get up close and personal to these sweet peas, and I will kind of tell you how we got them into the ground. So these here are King Ransom's sweet peas that seed that I collected over the last year. You can tell we've got a little bit of weeds going on here. I just need to get in here and weed out a little bit. It's kind of a chore that's ongoing throughout the year. But you can see how beautiful these are. And they're already trying, I mean, in a week or so, I'm gonna have to go ahead and get them up. Probably my first baling twine. You can also just kind of feed around here. They have these little tendrils that kind of grow. Isn't that fun? They're so pretty. You know, you can use these as foliage as well. We sell a lot of sweet peas for foliage just in the spring without the flower on it. People love it for, you know, designing and stuff, just because they do have those really fun little tendrils on them. But these are going really, really well. I've got to get in here and weed a little bit. But you can tell we have them spaced out every 4 inches, and they're on the either side of the cattle panel. We also have a drip tape that runs either side of our, so one on each side of our sweet peas. And then we have the T-post here in the center. Now this is a tall T-post, and it is, so we have them every 6 feet and going every other panel, so zigzagged. These will literally topple over the edge of the cattle panels, and we have to get ladders out to cut them and to harvest them. Now, to get those beautiful blooms that are super tall and just amazing, they require a lot of fertilizer. They actually have a long taproot, and that's one reason that some people have a hard time growing them, is because the container that you grow in needs to be a little bit taller, and you have to be a little bit more careful when you're removing them from the pot, because they do have that taproot. And once you disturb that very long, it's that first taproot that comes down, kind of like a carrot, you know, you think about that very first, it doesn't look like a carrot, but it's that very first long root that comes down, and then you have lots of other little roots that come off the side of it. That is the taproot, and some plants have them, and when you disturb the end, nick the end, or bruise it or damage it, a lot of times that plant will die. So it's a good thing to overseed some of your sweet peas, and then just be very mindful when you're teasing it out of the container. Because they have that long taproot, you will find back in fall, when we got this bed ready, we dug actually a trench first, put some compost in and some fertilizer, so that when that taproot did hit that spot, then it gives that full vigor. And you can tell that it's just now starting to hit that, because it takes a long time for it to kind of get to that stage. We make that trench of fertilizer and compost about 12 plus inches below where we're actually planting the little seedlings. It just gives it that burst of energy it needs to really grow up and to give us those long stems and beautiful blooms. You do have to pinch sweet peas. So when they become, they're just a little seedling, they're in their little pot, and they start to have that long first shoot and maybe another one, you take that very first shoot and you cut it down to the first set of leaves. Don't be afraid to do this. It's not gonna hurt anything if you did it wrong or pinched off too much. As long as you have a leaf there, you are good to go. What that does is increase the amount of blooms you're gonna get and creates that fuller vine and just an amazing plant. It's worth doing for sure. Now I have to say, if you don't do that, because we do have some that randomly seed out in the garden and they look amazing because they just kind of ramble where they will, and I won't pinch those because I don't know they're there, and they still put on an amazing show. It's just not production worthy. So we really encourage pinching. If you have, you know, a big spot like a vining trellis or something like that in your garden, pinch them back and you will just have an amazing show. Keep the fertilize coming. Don't over fertilize though, because then you'll just get a whole bunch of greenery and no blooms or very little blooms. So just kind of read the instructions, read the packages, do a little bit of research. There are some really good books out there, and really good growers of sweet peas that have a lot of information that they can share on their website and things like that. Now I like to grow sweet peas from, and I get most of my seeds from Enchanted Sweet Peas. She sends this beautiful, well-written, simple instructions for you. She has her sweet peas, or she recommends that sweet peas be planted every 6 inches, which ours are a little bit closer than that. They might be 6 inches. I don't think so. Well, maybe. If you count the hole, I guess. So most of the time I get the Spencer varieties, which they came about in about the 1900s in England. They have a very nice large flower and very ruffly, and they put on quite the show that everybody kind of admires when they come to sweet peas. And I think it's one of those flowers that everyone has a memory of a grandma or an aunt or somewhere that you've seen it in a garden that you're just like, yes, please, that smell just takes you back. It's incredible. Anyways, her little paper has instructions on how to start them and different things like that. You can start them in the wet paper towel method, which is really easy. You just have to make sure that the paper towel stays nice and moist, and then you'll see the little seeds start to kind of pop out and look beautiful. And that happens really fast, especially if you start them indoors. Now, the other thing to think about is that you can also grow these in containers. So if you had like an obelisk or something like that, that you could put down into your container that they could grow up. Beautiful. We've done that before out in the middle garden, and we have those beautiful trellises coming up, and we have done some sweet peas in there, and they come back every year because I forget, and then they drop seed, and you know, they just love it there. So then they do their best. They just repeat blooming every single year. Okay, so she does have like growing instructions and everything like that. I love, she always includes like a handwritten note, which is really fun. So what I bought from her is Charlie's Angel. I got William and Catherine, White Frills, Heaven Sent, and Southern Born, which I don't know that one. Southern Born, which is a pink shell. I don't know. I'll have to pull a picture of that one in. And Just Jenny, which is a dark purple. Heaven Sent, a light peach. White Frills, that's one that we grow a lot of here in the greenhouse, along with Jilly, which is a cream, and then Salmon Pink, which is always a fun one for weddings, and then a Periwinkle Blue, which is my favorite, which is Charlie's Angel. I'm mainly growing these for seed, so just so that I can have my own stock. I did collect seed off of some of our stuff that we grew last year, which was mainly the King Ransoms, and I have some seed of that. I believe it's gonna be what I have, and it might not be, you know, because I have some up on our Shopify, but you might get a mix of King Ransoms and one of these other ones, just because I did collect them all from the King Ransom area, but I had other stuff grown in this long row, so it's really hard to kind of keep track of everything. So if you might get a mix of, you know, like a Salmon Pink and King Ransom, which wouldn't be bad because that'd be really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna show you some of the King Ransoms that I started, which are going to be grown outdoors for seed this year. And I started them all like Monty Don does, and I saw that and I thought it was really cool. So I thought I would just give it a go and see how it comes. So here is our King Ransoms. They have come up beautiful. I put 3 seeds in a 4-inch pot, and you can tell they're starting to kind of come through the bottom here. So I'm gonna pot them up, but you can tell that they've all germinated really good. I wasn't sure how they do. Now I keep, if you're wondering, these little things over the top. These are just like growing trays, partly because birds tend to eat these when they're at this juicy tender stage, and so also mice like them. So a lot of times we'll put something heavy over the top of them. Yeah, they're coming up really, really nicely, and they'll be ready to put out here shortly. After, what we're going to look for is a longer stem, and then we're going to pinch them back, and they're going to be ready for putting outside. Okay, so I did get another pack of seeds, which is just a mix, and this is a Spencer Ripple Formula Mix. And I got this one from Johnny Seed, as you guys know. They're one of my favorites to order from. But this one had 50 seeds in the pack, where the other company, Enchanted Sweet Peas, they come in 50 now, which is really nice for flower farmers or people that want to grow en masse, or if you're planting up like just a fence row or something like that and you need more than, you know, 10 seeds. The other seeds are just in these small little packs like this, and they come in 10 of them for like $5.95, I want to say. So kind of expensive. It's almost, what, little over 50 cents a seed, which Johnny's, this was a lot less for 50 seeds, which is kind of cool. So the 50 here are just just for the gardens, I thought that would be kind of fun to do like a little mix that's going to go around. A lot of times we've done like this tunnel that you can walk through, and we call it like a rainbow tunnel. And Emma's done that a couple years when she was working for us, and it turned out really cute. People love to take photos with it. So I kind of want to recreate that. We'll see if I can do something like that again this year, but I thought it'd be kind of fun just to have this like a mass amount of beautiful sweet peas going down. So I'm going to talk to you about planting your seeds. So this is one way to start your seed, and it is when you just have a little bit of water and you put your seed right in and you let it soak, usually overnight. In my case, I'm just gonna let them soak until the end of the day, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pop them back up. The other way is the paper towel method. Sometimes I'll do it, this is just like a snack size, a Ziploc bag, and I've just taken a wet paper towel and I am folding it in half. So I'm just gonna lay this out and put my seeds in it, almost like a little burrito. So I've just made a little pocket there, like that. And then this one is white frills. So I'm gonna take that and I'm just gonna put my seeds in there, like that. And you could probably tape this to the outside if you wanted to. I'm just gonna kind of pop it in on the side like that. It kind of comes with a little paper on it, but you can just kind of lay them out like that. And then we're just gonna gently kind of fold them in on themselves. And there you have it. And then in a couple days, you're gonna see those starting to sprout. The reason to do, both of these methods work really, really well. But the reason to do them like this in this bag here is if you were to collect your own seed and you weren't sure of the germination rate, that would allow you to know that, you know, the seed that you're putting in is viable. It's already starting to sprout. You can see it. Great. The other way that we do it, which is just in this little container here, is to soften the seed. Now you can chit, which is to like score the top of one just to get the outer hard shell to crack. Sometimes seeds like sunflowers and things like that have that harder outer shell. And so what you're trying to do is just trying to soften it to give it the best chance to actually break and then to germinate. So that's the reason we're doing that. A lot of times for a flower farmer, we're gonna be seeding up in a 50 cell tray. Let me show you what that is. So this is when we're doing a mass amount. We will just seed them up into these 50 cell trays. This is a whole stack like this. And they just allow for a little bit nicer plug to actually plug into the ground. It does have a hole on the bottom, and what I find is that taproot sometimes will come out the bottom there. Totally fine. You just have to be really gentle when you're pulling these out. It is nice to just be able to use this hole to gently kind of squish it and then kind of push it up. You can use like a pencil or something like that if the taproot's not kind of poking through. The other way to do it would be to use like something to kind of go down the side of it if it's stuck, and just kind of gently pull it out. But when you're seeding up hundreds of these trays and you're doing tons of sweet peas, if you lose a few, it's not a big deal. Home gardener, I kind of like these 6 cell trays where you can grow 6, and I would do a couple sweet peas per little tray and then just be able to set that out in the garden. The Monty Don method, the one he used one of these 4-inch little pots, and he put 3 seeds in, and he said he's done that for years and it's always worked really well. What I do like about these is that, and the 6-packs, they're a little bit longer. They are deeper, so that it allows that taproot to not be as disturbed when they're ready to go ahead and put out into the garden. Now, another method that is really kind of cool is you can take divisions of sweet peas by taking the little cuttings that you tip off, you know, when you cut down your sweet peas, and you can put them in a jar of water in a warm location, and pretty soon you're gonna see little roots coming out the bottom of that sweet pea cutting. And that is something that you can then in turn pot on, grow on, and then plant out into the garden, which is really, really cool. So I'm gonna do some of that today actually and see how it turns out, because I've only heard about it and never done it. So it'd be kind of fun. You guys hear the frogs in the background? It's raining today, and you know, it's warm, and it's that perfect condition for them to start waking up. January and February is the time that they start to mate here in the Pacific Northwest. So we'll get hundreds of them across the roads. And when this, you know, it's just starting to be deafening at night, just the thousands of frogs out, which is really cool. So I'm gonna go take some cuttings and kind of show you what that looks like. So this one here that I want to take some cuttings from and try this method that I've heard about is called April in Paris. This is one that is sought after for floral design, and it's that beautiful color of lavender and creamy, which is just perfect for weddings. So what I'm going to do is I've got just a little jar. This is like a little jelly jar. I've written April in Paris on my tag, and I have some water in here. So I'm going to take some clean cutters, and we're just going to take some of these tips off and put them in the water and see what happens. Now, a friend of mine did this and she said it worked perfectly. We are going to use a little bit of rooting hormone, but what I'm gonna do is go ahead and take my cutting here. So I just kind of pinched off some of those leaves, and I'm gonna just go stick it in rooting hormone and then put it in the water. But I'm gonna stick it in water for now, just to see. So I have my cuttings here, and I've taken off the lower leaves. Basically what that looks like is here at the end of this tip, I'm just pulling off. This is where the roots will form. So anytime you're trying to propagate anything, you have to have kind of like a node. I mean, not everything. So if we're doing like hardwood cuttings or things like, you know, arborvitae and all that kind of stuff, it's a little bit different than when we're doing something like this. So what I'm gonna do is I have some rooting hormone, and this is the lightest rooting hormone. There's like 1, 2, and 3. 3 would be used things for like if we're doing evergreens and things like that. But number 1 is for most everything that you, like any gardener would be doing for home gardening. But so I've got it cleaned up, and then I've got my rooting hormone here. It's just a powder. I think it comes in a liquid as well, but I've always used the powder so I'm just gonna give it a little tap. I've got it nicely covered, and then you're actually gonna stick it back in water. This is what I've seen. So I don't know if it's gonna work, but we're gonna check it out together later this week. I'm gonna come back and revisit this, and hopefully by the end of this video, we will see new roots if it actually works. We'll see. Okay, got my little jar done. Now all I have to do is put it in somewhere warm and sunny. So I'm just gonna pop it into the house, on one of the window seals, and see how it does. We're gonna look for little roots to appear down here in a couple days, apparently. Is what they say. I don't know. So at the end of the week, I'm gonna check them and see if we have anything. This would be, if it works, this would be a really cool way to just be able to buy, you know, 1 package of seed, get it going, and then that first little pinch that you're doing, taking those pinches, doing this method, growing them on, and I think it will work out perfectly. The only thing about these are older. We planted these back in the fall, so I'm not sure if this is the wrong stage to take the cuttings, and if it's that new growth that's pretty tender still, that we would be taking cuttings and having much more luck. So if it doesn't work this time, I'm gonna try it again after the ones I'm seeding today, when I have that first initial cut. Once your sweet peas start to bloom and you start to cut, the first blooms that come on for most of the varieties have really long stems. Ours can be over 2 feet in length, which is amazing. And then you have this beautiful stem with a long, just roughly beautiful, sweet smelling sweet pea at the end of it. And those we can use for putting in bouquets and weddings and things like that. Florists love them. We can sell a ton of them. We bunch them. If they are just the stem, we bunch them in 15 stems and we sell them off. Or if we're cutting on the vine, so it's got the vine, so later on as the season progresses, your sweet peas get shorter and shorter, but it's a way to be able to sell them with a big stem length on them is to be able to cut the foliage as well. So we'll again cut pretty deep into our beautiful sweet peas and sell them on the vine, which actually you can get a little bit more money for, and those we bunch in 10 stem bunches. If you have any more questions about growing beautiful sweet peas, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know what varieties you are growing this year, if you've always struggled growing or anything like that. Let me know if you have any challenges that you kind of run into with growing anything in the spring. I know for us, we tend to get slugs, and birds and mice love sweet peas, so we're trying to do our best repelling them with slug bait or like the little iridescent, it's like tape. You can also put up things that deter birds. Mice, we find that they don't go after them too much. We just have to grow them on a little bit longer in a sheltered area. And by using something like this over the top of them, and sometimes we'll even weight it down with a terracotta pot on top. We have cats, so we don't really have a problem with mice anymore. But if you did, you would want a grid that's a little bit smaller than this to get your sweet peas going. And then you would want to weight it down with a terracotta pot. I know a lot of farmers use that method, and you could use that as a home gardener as well. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I encourage you to start some sweet peas because they are so rewarding when they do emerge from the garden, and just, oh, that smell. There's nothing better in the spring garden than a sweet pea. I hope this inspired you to head on out, grab some sweet pea seeds, and get them in the ground for a beautiful spring show. And I'm so excited for you. You have no idea. All right, guys, until next time, much success in all you do and grow, and we'll be seeing you shortly back here at Crowley House Flower Farm and Nursery very soon. Bye-bye. So far my experiment has not worked. My little roots have not sent out little shoots yet, so I'm gonna have to check back in with that later. But yeah, let me know if you've ever tried this before or any tricks on it, because a friend of mine did it and she had like tons of root. About a week later, it's only been about 5 days, so I just haven't seen anything at all. So we'll see. Okay, so this would be the sowing method where you would take a paper towel and get them started. I did this a couple days ago, so we're just gonna check together. Oh, yep. Sweet peas are one of those that are really easy to start. You can see, I don't know if I can get up, well, maybe I'll pull one out. You see the little start there? Just kind of poking through. So that's what this does, is just kind of keeps the moisture. It's not sopping wet, it's just moist enough. So almost all of them, I think there's two that haven't started. So I'm just gonna leave them in there until they are ready to go.